Well, hello, everybody. I am Melissa Hailey, real estate broker of the North Texas Top Team Realtors. Tonight, we are going to be talking about home inspections. If you want to stay informed about all things real estate, go check us out on social media channels. All of our channels, we are at NTX Top Team. You might also want to check us out on YouTube because on our YouTube channel, we have lots of great videos to help you prepare for buying or selling a home. And whether you are moving now or next year, give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and we will help you make your move to North Texas. So before we get started, I really quickly would just like to introduce everybody. So tonight I have top producing realtor Julie Baker with me. Hi, Julie. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Melissa. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. We are so glad you could join us again tonight. You are always a wealth of knowledge. And we are also joined tonight by Matt Dunlap with Dunlap Home Inspections.
Hey, ladies, how's everything going?
Everything is going great. Thanks for being here. We super appreciate it. I know we're going to learn a lot of great information from you tonight because, you know, we've known each other for a long time. I know you know your stuff. So as we get started, just want to let everybody know that we are going to make time to answer questions at the end of the night if we have anything in our chat. And of course, if you would like some free information about buying a home in 2022, we'll make sure to get you a link for that. So just feel free to message us and we'll get that over to you. And of course, if you haven't checked us out already, go check out all of our social media and our YouTube channel. So let's get started by getting to know the folks that are here with me tonight. I'd love to get a little bit of a backstory, right? So Julie, ladies first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I am actually a third generation realtor. Both my father and grandfather were in the real estate industry. So I've been around it my whole life. Even as a kid and way before I had my license, people would say that I was my dad's receptionist. When they would call to talk to him and I would answer the phone, I would have to take a message or wait for him to come to the phone. And now that I've had my license about 5 years, I'm sure my kids are super happy that we don't have a landline and that I just have a cell phone, so they don't have to act as my receptionist.
That's so awesome. I can totally picture, you know, the landline phone with the long cord, you know, I had a little spiral cord.
Yes.
Like, Dad, come to the phone. Was that how it was at your house?
That was pretty much how it was. Yep.
Yep.
All the time.
I can totally picture it 100%. That's awesome. So yeah, your kids probably are very excited. Not something they have to deal with.
No.
Well, it is good to get to know people a little bit before we get started. So I appreciate you sharing a little bit about your backstory. And I know you're a real estate expert and you're going to give out some really great information today. So really, thanks for taking the time to be with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So Matt, we're going to get to know you next. Now, I have known you for a really long time. I think we've probably been working together like 15 or 16 years or so. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started tonight?
Oh, of course, Melissa. Yes, I've been in inspection business for about 17 years now. And I've known you about as long as that too, because you were one of the first ones I ever called on trying to get my business started. And you were very instrumental in that. And I appreciate that very much.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things that I'm most proud of is that I have five grandkids and getting ready to have two more. So that's going to make a total of 7. You know, so I'm very excited about that.
Grandparenting is the best, isn't it?
It is.
I only have 2, but I'll tell you what, it's awesome. Feed them up with all the sugar and all the cookies and you go do all the fun things and then you're like, bye. That's at least how it is on my house.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, let's get started with tonight. So tonight, our topic is all about home inspections, which is why we've invited you here, Matt, because you are the expert. And it is a really important part of the home buying process. And, you know, it's this time when the home buyer has this opportunity to do their due diligence and really learn about the property that they're planning to purchase. So I think I'm just going to sort of start with you, Julie. When you're working with a home buyer, do you always recommend that people get a home inspection?
Absolutely. We always recommend getting a home inspection. Usually this happens almost immediately after a home buyer gets their contract accepted. This gives the buyer, some peace of mind that the home that they're buying is in good condition.
Mhm.
And it's actually a really important part of the home buying process. Matt, can you kind of give us an idea of what is covered in a general inspection?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first of all, just to let you all know that a home inspection generally, on the average, takes about 3 to 4 hours to complete. So it's just not a 1 hour thing or a 2 hour thing. It takes 3 to 4 hours to complete everything. Some of the things we inspect, go all the way from the foundation to the roof, everything in between, your electrical, your plumbing, your doors, your windows, your HVAC system, your walls, what kind of condition, you have. Do you have any cracks due to foundation movement, so those are just some of the things we check, and like I said, it's probably over 1,000 items that we actually check.
That is a lot of stuff. Wow. Yeah, I love it that I mean, I think it's important for a home buyer to get that kind of information. And it's, not only I guess important for a home buyer, I think it's really important for a seller too, right? Because I think, if I'm a home buyer, I'm going to want to get advice on how to move things forward. And I'm sure that my realtor and probably my friends and my family and people, they're going to tell me, what, get a home inspection. You're buying a house, make sure you know what you're buying. But I wonder a little bit with all of the stuff that you're looking at, I wonder if a seller ever considered how important it might be to get this done from a buyer's perspective. What I'm selling, so the buyer's going to be buying the house, and if it's important to them, should be important to me. I mean, maybe, I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah, that's right, Melissa. Home sellers should consider getting a pre-listing home inspection. That way they don't have any surprises after they get a contract. Plus, it's a great marketing tool to help their home stand out among the other homes on the market, that people might be considering. Matt, is that one of the things that you offer? Do you offer pre-listing, home inspection, and what's included in that?
Yeah, sure do. And that's one thing I highly recommend. A lot of time, the homeowners, they don't realize what's wrong, what could be wrong. They live there, they think things are going fine, everything's good until they get a home inspection. So if you get the home inspection pre-listing, then you can go ahead and get stuff done and fixed and repaired by a handyman, maybe yourself if you feel good about doing it, rather than hiring a general licensed person. That's going to cost a lot more after the buyer's inspector does the inspection.
Yeah, I think I'm probably that same way. I love it that you said that, Matt. You're just living there and you think your house is great. And then the buyer comes along and gets a home inspection and they're like, this is wrong and this is wrong. And if I'm a seller, I'm like, what? I didn't know those things were wrong.
Yep, absolutely.
I can imagine. I can totally imagine. Well, thanks for that information. I do think I think it's helpful. Julie, I love what you said about it being a marketing thing, but I also really like, Matt, I like your point about, this is a way to save some money and to get the things done first before it becomes an issue. So I think it's a smart idea. So if a home inspection, I'm thinking it through here, if it's a good idea for both a buyer and a seller, I got to think that sometimes that you're going to run into a property, Matt, that maybe it has like a specific item that needs to be inspected, like a swimming pool or something. Do you have any specialized property inspections that you perform on a regular basis?
Well, I actually do pools. On pools, it's a very expensive fix if you do not get it corrected. For example, you could have plumbing leaks, you could have a crack in your pool. You don't want to spend, $30,000-$40,000 having the pool taken care of and replaced, repaired. So yeah, and then the other thing is the pest inspection. I don't do it personally, but I do have a third-party person that does it for me, and he'll come along and he'll do the inspection while I'm doing the home inspection. And as far as septic systems, the only thing about septic systems is that if you have an aerobic system, I can verify the option of it, the function of it, to make sure it's functioning properly. If you have a septic system that has lateral lines, you have to have a septic company come out inspect the tank. And if it's in bad condition, a lot of times they'll make you put in an aerobic system, which is not cheap. So I always recommend you have that lateral system inspected to make sure there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's some great information. And I love that you mentioned all those different things. We almost always recommend a pest inspection for our buyers. And in fact, some mortgage loans actually require a pest inspection.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true too. I mean, that's a really good point. If an inspection is required by another party, right, that's got an interest in the property, like the mortgage lender, that definitely could be something that a buyer needs to be aware of, and probably a seller as well, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and home buyers should also consider getting a home inspection when they build a new construction home, like with a builder. Just
Oh,
because they're buying a brand new home doesn't mean that it's perfect, as you might think. Construction managers are busy and can't supervise every one of their contractors, on every property all the time. Plus, a city inspector is usually only looking for something specific that's required for the code, not necessarily checking the entire, construction process. That's why we recommend a phase inspection to our buyers who are building a new construction home.
okay. Well, so if I was building a brand new house, I mean, it's brand new. I want it to be perfect. I want it to be done right. So I like this idea of phase inspections if I'm having something built. Matt, do you do phase inspections? How does that work?
Yes, absolutely, I do. Actually, phase inspections, it comes in 3 different areas. One is the pre-pour, one is the rough framing with mechanical and plumbing, and then the final inspection. On the pre-pour, you want to make sure that everything's done properly because that's where it all starts at.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll do an inspection on pre-pour and I'll see the post tensions are not installed properly. I'll see that the forms on the are not level, which they need to be. I mean, who wants to walk into the house where the floor is unlevel? And then on the rough framing, inspecting all the plumbing, electrical, make sure everything is stubbed properly for that.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, you got to get that foundation done right, like you said, because you're building it.
Yeah, and I also think it's really important for a home buyer to know that when they build a brand new home, they usually get a pretty extensive 1-year warranty on the home.
Mm.
And I like to recommend buyers that they get a full home inspection around 11 months after they buy the house. That way they can ask the builder to address like any issues that have come up during that first year before the warranty expires.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt, do you do the home inspections at like 11 months? Is that something that you do also, or that you see a lot of?
Yeah, sure do, Melissa. One of the things about the 11-month warranty inspection is that most homeowners do not have a inspection done when they purchase the house because they think it's brand new, if everything's going to be in good condition. But that's one they always recommend. If you're having a house built, get it inspected before you move in. Because on there, it's hard to get them come back out to fix the issues that might be there. But, as far as doing 11-month warranty inspections, yes, if nothing else, if there's nothing wrong with it, at least you got peace of mind knowing that everything's in good condition.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
absolutely. And so many people don't even know they can do that. And that's why it's so important to have a knowledgeable realtor to help you, guide you along the way, even when you're working with a home builder.
Yeah, I agree. I think, well, and I also know lately home builders have been doing a lot of, you can't pick the house and pick the lot. We're going to pick the house and put it on the lot. So your only option is to get it inspected like right there at closing, or maybe at that 11 months. So it's kind of a lot going on there. But I do think that all of this is just really, really good information. And I also think, I mean, I'm kind of with you, Julie. Most home buyers probably, if they're working with a builder, they don't even know they have this option. They have no idea that they can even get a home inspection, during the phases or all of these things, because they just think, I got a construction manager, the builder's going to build it right, the city's inspecting it. So with that kind of in mind and sort of thinking that through, I have a question about, this question's for you, Matt. if I'm a home inspector and I'm out there doing all of these home inspections, with regards to new construction, is there anything that you see it like all the time? It's pretty common that it comes up on a home inspection when you're working with new construction?
I'd say probably the number one thing that comes up is the grading. The grading is usually not done properly. I'd say probably 98% of the homes I inspect, the grading is not done right.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
whether soil is supposed to slope away from the foundation, you know, at least 6 inches in a 10-foot run, or if you have close proximity to homes, you got a swell that needs to drain properly away from the house out into the street. You know, so that's probably going to be the number one issue. You know, the other thing is here twice this year already, I've done inspections on new homes, and they thought they were ready to move in. And guess what? They had no insulation in the attic. You know, so how would you like to move in, no insulation in the attic, and have that utility bill hit you?
In Texas, when it's 150 million degrees outside in the summer. Oh, man. You know what? And I kind of like that you said about the grading and drainage, because it doesn't sound like it's that big of a deal, right? The grass is just out there, whatever. But if the house isn't draining, if the land isn't draining away from the house, couldn't that cause a foundation issue?
Yes, it absolutely could. It could be very detrimental to your foundation because you don't want water pooling up around your foundation.
Yeah.
Once you start to get water pooling up around your foundation, starts getting underneath, you could say have some upheaval that's developed in your foundation. Then you got to call a foundation guy out, take care of it. And that can be very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. None of this is good. Well, you know, people would probably think it's brand new, there's not going to be any issues, but I don't guess it sounds like that's really the case. And, you know, in a resale home, I think, you know, a pre-loved home, I'm going to call it that, on a resale home, I think people sort of expect things are going to be wrong, right? That it's been around, the house is however many years old. Matter of fact, I've even had sellers say things like, well, they're not getting a brand new house, I'm not fixing this or that or this or that. So people, you know, they expect things to not be perfect in a resale, but they really do kind of expect it on a new home. But you do a lot of resale inspections. I know you do because you've done a lot of them for me over the years and for my clients. So do you find the same things on inspection reports on resale, that you find it very often, or you find is there something sort of different on resale versus new construction that you see a lot?
You know, a lot of that depends on the age of the home. You know,
Makes
as
sense.
far as I see a little bit of everything. You know, depends whether it's a pier and beam, slab foundation. You know, it depends what's going on. A lot of times on a pier and beam, for example, you go underneath the house and you'll see some what I'm not supposed to call it this, but it's black organic type substance underneath the house because it's not getting proper ventilation. You know, so I mean, even slab foundations, you know, if you don't have a good water regiment around the house, you're going to see soil separating away from your foundation, you know, and then eventually you'll start having foundation issues, you know. But there's also a lot of other things I inspect as far as, you know, making sure everything is safe for you to move in. Don't want any carbon monoxide entering the house, you know, so always testing the furnace, making sure they're working properly. You know, it's just, you know, there's a lot of stuff that we're building codes are different now compared to what they were. And if there's a safety issue, I still have to call them out because it's not today's standards of safety.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I love it that you're like, we don't say the M word.
Yeah.
I bet that's also a specialized inspection, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I
It
bet
sure
it is. Yeah. And you mentioned foundations and, you know, the water regimen. And I think that's a big deal. Like right now, I mean, it's been like 105 degrees outside or something every day for weeks, and it's not expected to stop. And I think it's important, you know, with the extreme heat that we've been having lately, that people know they should be watering their foundation. They should be doing some things to take care of their home, because even just this week, literally just yesterday or the day before or earlier this week, I walked around my own house all the way around. I was outside with my grandkids actually, and out on the side by my garage, I noticed that some of the dirt had some serious cracks in it. And so I know I need to get out there and I need to be watering my foundation, it's just part of taking care of the house.
Yeah. And once you start watering that foundation, make sure you keep that soaker hose. Sprinkler system or irrigation system will not work. So you need a soaker hose. You can put that soaker hose about 12 to 18 inches away from the foundation. That way, when the water's going down, it's actually pushing the soil against the foundation.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. Thanks for the help.
Yeah, and speaking of extreme heat, while it's so hot outside, we may not only need a general inspection, but we may also need to call, a specialist out to the home. Especially foundation companies or HVAC contractors. Matt, when should we bring in a specialist like an HVAC contractor or something like that?
You're absolutely right, especially on foundation. Once I determine that a foundation is shifted or moved, then you need a foundation company to come out there and see how much movement there is and what the repair cost might be. It may have not moved enough to have any piers, but on the other hand, it may have, 10, 15, 20 piers that you have to put in. You just never know until they get out there. As far as the HVAC, that's something that, especially right now, that I'm calling quite a bit out because the HVACs are not cooling as well as they should be. But with this hot weather that we've been having, it's very difficult for those HVACs to maintain their coolness. But a lot of times you'll see on a drip line on the exterior part of the house from the HVAC units, from the drain pan, you'll see water dripping out of that little drip line there. Well, that's a warning. That's telling you that your primary drain line's clogged up. So you need to come and have somebody get an HVAC technician out there and service it. A lot of times we'll see rust in the drain pan up there in the attic. A lot of times that means your condensation line has been dripping. So I mean, you definitely need a expert on something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess if you called something like that out, at that point, it's a matter of, okay, something's wrong. Call these people to come and tell you what that cost is going to be to get the thing fixed, right?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And with them potentially costing, I mean, you were talking about foundations and air conditioners. In my experience, those are expensive. Those have quite a bit of cash going on there. And I think it would be a big concern for a home buyer. They're spending all this money on their down payment and their closing cost, and so they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. I just think if I was a home buyer, I'd be very concerned as well, even if it was something that was smaller. So, keeping that in mind. So Julie, you work with a lot of buyers. How do you handle these kinds of things when it comes up with a client, when something is wrong? What do you do?
Well, we always make sure to advise our clients, to get as much information about, a specific situation as they can. As we move through the process, the realtors can help coordinate access to the property for the specialist to come out, to get quotes and things like that. And then based on that information, we work with the listing agent to negotiate repairs, as needed on the property.
Okay. So what if the buyer asks for something to be repaired and the seller says, yeah, no, I'm not doing it? Then what?
Well, the buyer has, some options. They have the option to accept cash instead of, repair. So they have the money then to fix the item themselves after they purchase the house. And of course, if the buyer and seller don't agree, the buyer may have the option to terminate the contract. That would allow them the ability to choose, a different house to buy. At the end of the day, the buyer just needs to get the inspections done so that they can, protect their investment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that makes sense. I'd want to do that. And I guess every situation is really different, but again, you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. You just need to make sure that the home is in the best possible condition that it can be for that particular property, right?
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%.
Yeah. Well, I have very much enjoyed chatting with the both of you. I want to thank you both so very much for your time tonight. I hope everybody who's watching got some really good information out of this video tonight, out of this recording that we're making.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Melissa.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us tonight, Matt, and Julie. Thanks for coming back. I always try to drag Julie in, and she, thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. And I really, really do. I love talking to real estate experts. I love talking about what's happened in the market. Real estate's my passion. And right now the market it's just very overwhelming. And I think that's why people really need a realtor to help them through the whole process, regardless of if you're buying or you're selling. And of course, they always need a trusted home inspector who can give them the information and help them know what items may or may not need to be addressed before they actually get to the closing table and the house becomes theirs. So, keeping all of that in mind, I really, really appreciate both of you so much, and all of the information that you've given tonight. And I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. I know you're both busy, so thank you for doing all that. I really appreciate it.
You're
Of
very
course.
welcome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right.